If you've ever managed a project, you know the feeling, right? That constant worry about keeping it on budget? Well, what if I told you it has almost nothing to do with luck and everything to do with having the right plan? Today, we're going to dive into the absolute gold standard for project management and show you how to build a rock-solid financial plan for any project you can dream up. And by the way, this guide is brought to you by the team at Alpha Constructions, who live and breathe this stuff every single day.
So let's just get right to it. Why? Why do so many projects, big and small, go over budget? It's the one question that keeps project managers, homeowners, and executives up at night. You know that creeping feeling of costs just spiraling out of control? It's a pretty universal fear. But here's the secret, and it's a big one. It's not bad luck. It's not some curse. Most of the time, it's just a bad blueprint. Or, even worse, not having a blueprint at all. I mean, think about it. You would never, ever build a house without detailed architectural plans, right? So why on earth do we try to manage projects without a detailed financial plan?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to fix, right here, right now. We're going to use the official playbook, the Project Management Body of Knowledge, or PMBOK guide, to build that financial blueprint together, step by step. So let's dive in. Okay, so first things first. This framework from the PMBOK guide, it's not some crazy, complicated system only a genius could understand. Nope. It's a really logical 4-part blueprint. Just think of it as the master plan for all the money on your project.
Now, I know what you're thinking when you see a diagram like this, but don't let it intimidate you. Seriously, this is just our roadmap, and it all boils down to 4 really simple, logical steps. First, we plan. Second, we estimate. Third, we nail down the budget. And finally, and this is key, we control the costs. We're going to walk through every single one so you'll know exactly what's going on.
All right, step 1 is all about the plan. This is where we zoom out and think high level. Before we even consider a single dollar amount, we have to decide on the rules of the game. We're basically sketching the outline for our entire financial blueprint.
See, the point here is that we're not just going to wing it. We are making decisions up front about how we'll do everything, from how we estimate to how we track our spending to what happens when something unexpected comes up. The big thing that comes out of this step is called a cost management plan, which is basically the instruction manual for your project's money. Simple as that. Okay, we've got our rules in place. Now we can move to step 2, estimating the costs. To stick with our construction analogy, this is the measure twice, cut once part of the process. We're going to calculate the cost of every single thing we need to get the job done. So how do we actually do it? Well, first, you break the whole project down into smaller activities. Then, for each of those, you estimate what you'll need. We're talking labor, materials, equipment, you name it. And then, and this is important, you add a little buffer for things that might go wrong. We call these contingency costs. It could be anything. Maybe the price of steel goes up, or a key person on your team gets sick. The more detailed you are here, trust me, the more accurate your final budget is going to be. And this is exactly why this step is so critical. The PMBOK guide itself says it best. Your power to control the final cost is at its absolute peak right here, at the beginning. A tiny change you make during planning can literally save you a fortune down the road. This is where you have all the leverage. You get this part right, and you are seriously setting yourself up for success.
All right, we've planned our approach, we've estimated all the little pieces. Step 3 is where we finally put it all together and finalize that blueprint. This is where we determine the official, locked-in, authorized project budget. The main event here is something called cost aggregation. Now, I know it sounds a little fancy, but it is so simple. All you're doing is rolling up all those detailed cost estimates you just made into one grand total for the entire project. This creates the official financial picture.
And that official picture gives us the single most important thing from this entire process, the cost baseline. This isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. No, this is the approved official financial blueprint for your project. From this point forward, every bit of your performance is going to be measured against this baseline. It's your yardstick for success. So now we have our beautiful, finalized blueprint. But let's be honest, a blueprint is totally useless if you just stick it in a drawer while the actual construction is happening, right? And that brings us to our final and maybe most active phase, controlling costs. So what is cost control, really? Well, at its core, it's just a constant comparison. On one side, you have your cost baseline. That's your plan. And on the other side, you have your actual costs, what you're really spending. Your job as the project manager is to constantly, and I mean constantly, monitor the difference between the two. And that is the absolute key right there. This isn't just about passively tracking your spending. It's about active management. You have to be constantly analyzing how you're doing against your baseline so you can catch any little problems early and fix them before they turn into huge, budget-destroying disasters. So when you look at a chart like this, don't get overwhelmed. Just think of it as a simple feedback loop. You're always checking your actual work against your plan. When you spot a difference, you analyze it. And that analysis might lead to an official change, which then updates your plan. It's this continuous cycle: measure, analyze, and adapt, over and over again.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We have just walked through a powerful, professional, and yet, when you break it down, a really logical 4-step process for getting a handle on your project's finances.
See, it really just boils down to this. First, you plan by setting the ground rules. Then you estimate every single cost down to the last detail. After that, you set the official budget, which creates your baseline. And finally, you actively control your spending by constantly measuring and managing against that plan.
And that's the bottom line. When you follow this process, your budget stops being some hopeful guess you made at the beginning, and it becomes what it was always meant to be: a detailed, actionable blueprint for financial success. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Whether it's something big at work or a project around the house, what's the first thing you're going to build a proper blueprint for? The next time you start something new, don't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. Build a blueprint. You've got this.